All right, call the meeting to order. Please rise. Pledge to the allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, good evening, everybody. Looks like we have a full group here tonight. I'll call the roll anyway. Jaden Bailey.
Here.
Alan Stork.
Here.
William Gutschalk.
Here.
Jeff Spink.
Here.
Doug Tysted.
Here.
Robert Owens.
Here.
Steve Skeet.
Here.
Daniel Clemens.
Here.
And Stephen Rosenthal.
Here.
All right. Let it be known we have 9 of 9 voting here tonight. Everybody get a chance to read over the minutes? Questions on the minutes? I'll take a motion to approve the minutes as they're written.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. I'll call roll. Any discussion? Okay. I'll call roll. Jaden Bailey.
Yes.
Alan Stork.
Yes.
William Gutschalk.
The abstain was not present.
All right. Jeff Spink.
Yes.
Doug Tysted.
Yes.
Robert Owens.
Abstain.
Steve Skeet.
Yes.
Dan Clemens.
Yes.
Stephen Rosenthal.
Yes.
All right. 7 of 9. All right. Give me just a second here. Secretary's report.
Good evening, everyone. Today you have 3 items on your consent agenda, all for your class. So if you approve the agenda, those items will automatically be approved. On the regular agenda, you have 1 plat that is requesting exceptions and 1 rezone. Do you have any questions on this?
So you're saying we have a short list tonight?
I hope.
Well, in that case, I will talk really slow.
Yeah, let's get.
Okay. So, any declarations tonight? None? All right. We'll drive on. In that case, get an approval of the agenda for tonight. A motion to approval of agenda. I'm sorry.
I move we approve the agenda for the evening.
All right. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? No discussions? All right. I'll call the roll. Jaden Bailey.
Yes.
Alan Stork.
Yes.
William Gutschalk.
Yes.
Jeff Spink.
Yes.
Doug Tysted.
Yes.
Robert Owens.
Yes.
Steve Skeet.
Yes.
Daniel Clemens.
Yes, sir.
And Stephen Rosenthal.
Yes.
All right. Let the record show 9 of 9 approve the agenda, which takes us to item 9 alpha. The Leavenworth County Planning Commission will now hear case DEV 24-048, a preliminary for Tall Grass Estates as outlined in the posted agenda. This is not a public hearing item. Planning staff report.
All right, before you is a request to preliminary plat the property located at 16271 Evans Road. This parcel is approximately 154 acres in size. The parcel was also rezoned last year to R143, so 1 acre lots is what this was approved for. The applicant has provided an 88-lot subdivision plat. A few things about this plat. They are requesting 2 exceptions. The first exception is to the street connectivity requirement, the 750 or 1,250 feet with administrative approval. There are 2 roads that do not meet that, which is the outer road that was. Yes, so the eastern road there, you see it extends from Evans Road all the way down to the interconnecting road along the south. There are concerns about floodplain that goes through there and onto the adjacent properties. The applicant is requesting an exception for street connectivity for that. There's also floodplain that would prohibit them without making substantial improvements from connecting that center cul-de-sac that you see there to connecting it to either east or that is the basis of your exception request for that specific regulation. The second request for an exception pertains to lot, I think it's 73. The frontage requirement for R133 is 150 feet. That lot currently is 143.75. However, it is on a curved part of the road. And in our regulations for cul-de-sacs, we do make allowances for frontages to be set at the building setback line. However, we do not have anything that says that on a curve in a road. So they are requesting an exception for that because they do meet the 150-foot width requirement, but at the building setback line. If you have any questions, I can try and provide more clarity on that, but those are the two exception requests. For the actual subdivision, this parcel is located within the Class A zone. It's within F660 feet of the city of Basehor. It's actually right adjacent. Typically, our requirements state that they have to connect to public sewer if it is available. However, when we reached out to the city of Basehor during the rezoning and during the planning process, they indicated that their closest sewer connection is a mile north of this parcel. So to be able to connect to their public sewer system would require substantial investment to get that sewer line all the way down. What the applicant has done is left the lowest lying areas of this plat open in just tracks, and you can see it there where the floodplain is located. That is the natural location where a sanitary sewer would go, a gravity-fed sewer system. When the city does extend their sewer line down south, they have left that open. It allows for the city to hook in and extend their sewer south through this parcel when that becomes available. So they are requesting a waiver to be able to put these lots on the septic system with the caveat that they are trying to make allowances for the city of Basehor's natural growth when growth does occur. We also did reach out to the fire district. Fairmont Fire District did review this. They only had two comments. The first comment was that they would like to have fire hydrants throughout this subdivision. And then the second comment pertained to the temporary turnaround points. The applicant is proposing to phase this into 4 phases. So roads will not extend all the way through during the initial phase. So in the interim, they have to put in temporary cul-de-sacs, hammerheads, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
The fire chief just wanted to ensure that that turnaround point matches their adopted fire code. So we did place a condition in staff's recommended conditions that they would have to build their turnarounds, temporary turnarounds to those standards.
Is that going to affect the drawings that we got now? So the drawings would change a little bit, right?
The drawing will change a little bit based on the final plat. Can you hear that? Can you hear that?
But I think I heard you say those changes would go into the final plat.
Right. So
Yeah.
now it finally kicked in. All right. So the end of the phasing will end up with a hammerhead, or as she said, a cul-de-sac, and with a Class 3 barricade on the backside of that. So the larger picture of what you see won't change in a developed condition. The phasing will look a little bit different as you see it before you. The lots
Yeah.
will be in the same spots, just the termination of the road in between phases will be slightly different until
Right.
the next phase starts.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the phasing plan that they have provided for it. So you'll see where the blue and the red meet that road. They have proposed a temporary turnaround as part of their phasing plan. And then also on the western edge of the blue, there would be another temporary turnaround. So typically there's going to be an easement for that temporary turnaround. And then once the road has been built through there, that easement would go away, along with the additional pull out of the cul-de-sac.
Right, the replatting that would occur over the top of that easement would allocate right away versus the cul-de-sac or hammerhead for standard road in the next phase.
Otherwise, staff has provided the rest of the analysis in the staff report, so if you have any other questions, please let me know.
So I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at 4 entrances into this neighborhood. Am I looking at that right, John?
There's
I'm looking at
one
from the-
automatically,
three.
And then the fourth one is to the undeveloped parcels south of there. So
Oh,
once
okay.
that develops out, then the natural connection point to that subdivision would be.
Oh, I'm sorry. 1, 2,
that south
yeah,
one.
3, 4,
So
5.
technically there are 4, but 3 will be built as part of this plan.
Right, and that particular area has floodplain implications as well. So engineering will have to be done to put structure in that area should a road go to the east.
Okay.
How come there isn't a road dedicated to the east?
That's the exception that they're requesting is the floodplain. The one that they have dedicated is to the south.
Okay, but why isn't there one to the east, is what I'm asking.
That's their request. Based off of the floodplain, it would make connecting into the eastern parcels difficult. You would have to.
Well, there's lots there.
That's an open tract. That green spot you see in between there, which is the connection to the east.
Well, I know, but why isn't there a road between some of those lots?
Like where the waterway is, I think is what he's asking.
Because
Leave
those-
that there, but then go north and take out a lot and add a
Oh.
roadway.
Well, you've got developed parcels just to the north of that. I guess there are 2 lots there that you have the potential to do that in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
this-
I mean, it's connectivity, I mean.
Well, it is,
Yeah.
but theoretically,
And we need connectivity to the east of anywhere.
we agree. That's where that open spot in the plat is at. So from staff's perspective, that open spot would accommodate a future road connection there. But you're going to have floodplain implications that are going to happen at that point.
But that's,
It's the lowest,
put a road in there?
it's possible. It's possible. You can put a road in 2 lots up, or a lot up from this.
What's the connecting on the east?
There is not one.
That's-
That is the
that-
request for the exceptions.
Right. That 1,200-foot rule
No,
that you
I mean, is there a road there now? On
No.
the
No,
east?
there is
Okay.
no road. In fact,
All right.
those 2 parcels to the east, the 2 north-south parcels, are part of the plat. So per our regulations, they don't have to have a connection point into those 2 because they're already platted. It'd be the 2 southern parcels, and that's where the floodplain is connecting between the 2. And
Right.
that is the basis of the applicant's request for the exception.
because you have massive floodplain implications past the platted line here. So while you don't have floodplain on the lot above this connection point, you do have floodplain implications on the adjoining property that would extend up into that area. So either way, you're going to have to deal with the floodplain and structure if you ran a road and these 2 lots are not.
Can you bring it up with the?
So that would be, I zoomed in, above the green section area,
Yeah.
which is the floodplain. Above
Yep.
that is lot number 26, and then to the west directly is lot number 36. And you're
Uh-huh.
saying that both of those have some floodplain.
On the
implications
adjoining property.
On the 36, okay. But all of that, even with that being said, they could possibly engineer something to put a road there, even with those implications.
It
So
could.
if they can put it in that green space, they could put it in,
They can.
they could put it somewhere else too.
And whoever develops that adjoining property would have to deal with the floodplain issues and road connection issues that are there, regardless of if you leave it where it's at or you put it a lot further up. One of them's going to have to deal with the floodplain issue and structure.
Well, do we have to do anything that says that that would be used for road connectivity in the future, if that other ones develop?
You can allocate that and you can put it in there. However, we've taken the stance that if you plat a road or call it a roadway, you have to build it as part of the plat. So if they put that down as a future roadway, I'm going to ask that they build the road. So
I think that's what you need to do.
again, it's an exception that they've asked for.
Okay.
So it's up to the board whether you want to grant that exception or not. So the exception is to the 1,200-foot rule on that particular area.
And on that adjoining properties to the east, the above lots, I don't know how many acres those would be, but those
You can't
Couldn't be it, 'cause those are
run a
part
road
of the plat.
Right, they're already platted.
Can you pull up the floodplain?
So number 14 and
Over
15.
on the other, go to the other side.
Yeah.
You can see.
12, 13, 14 are already.
The water's
Already
correct.
planted,
And there's
but-
kind of a spot right in here.
They don't have to be that big a lot. That could change in the future.
I don't have
Big.
them. I don't have them.
But I know there's
All I've got is the big plot.
It's
Those
not
plots.
playing out all the way, but there is that creek system that's going through water implications.
Good, this thing.
So if you can see the topo right along that eastern boundary that goes to the larger forested area,
Yeah.
that's the implication from that particular connection point. And whomever develops that property on that side is going to have a similar issue as this does with bisecting floodplain issues.
That's the
And
reason why
topography issues.
that's the reason why I don't see. I mean, you're talking a massive bridge structure. That's
Right.
what you're talking about.
Right.
Hundreds
So
of
essentially,
thousands of dollars on a massive bridge
It's-
structure.
It's not logical that it's going to happen anytime soon.
And you've
but-
already got the fire department report. You've already got the police department report that said it's not an issue.
Right.
Is that what you're telling me?
That's what I'm telling you.
So it's not an issue.
So again, we don't have the authority to grant those exceptions.
No, I know. That's what we're discussing.
Right.
I'm just trying to
So,
look at all the things between.
I think Steve's concern is just trying to avoid a scenario where we approve something that is, easy to get into, but it doesn't connect to other
Right. I mean-
roads in terms of flow of traffic, things like that.
Right.
We just did a subdivision where there was a stub left, and the road, when the other one developed, went right to it. And
Yeah.
some good connectivity. That'll give them eventually another road to go out of that actually to 158th Street, which is the primary road in that area. So,
There are a number of ways that you could lay the road network out here, but you're going to have to accommodate the topography and floodplain. So when you have the general rule of 750 feet and 1,200 feet, it doesn't take into account excessive topography changes or excessive floodplain.
Right. It doesn't take into effect this.
Right, so you're going to have to get creative on how you lay that street network out. But again, I would caution you as far as labeling a future roadway, that is always a bad idea, and those improvements rarely get built. So, leaving a wide spot in that area, from my purposes, from a staff purposes, it makes more sense than trying to allocate future roadways in that particular area without building them.
Well, if you could pull, okay, so everybody get done looking at the topograph, the lowgraph? All right. Can you pull the other map up real quick that we were looking at so we can? All right. So what you're telling me, the way I'm looking at this is the only issue that we're saying that they're asking for an exception is that one road down the east side where it's not connected, but it's connected, to the north in two locations. It's connected to the west in one location, and is connected to the south in one location. Am I reading that right?
That's what we're saying. We're saying that these connection points are in excess of the 1,200 feet that we can grant. So, because that's outside our purview, we have to bring it to you. Do we think
according
there's
with this, but what I'm looking at, though, is if we look at, the issue that we're talking about here, guys, is really from the corner up to somebody else's property.
Correct.
So we're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lots. Trying to connect the road in between 6 lots, and we already know one of them, you're not going to put a bridge of magnitude like that. That's massive. That's the issue we got off of DeSoto right now, why there's nothing being built there, because the amount of money going into a bridge defeats the purpose of even building lots and growing homes, because you got more money in the bridge than you would have in the whole development.
You have to have enough density to pay for the improvements. And if the improvements are exorbitantly expensive, you don't have the ability to have density enough to put those improvements in place.
Okay. Okay. All right, so this particular preliminary, this is the preliminary, we're talking the street connection exception, but we're also talking another one right behind it,
Right, and that's that lot width,
which is that curve,
yes, the curve on any.
and we're talking about a house set back a little further to make up for the distance of, what is it, 143 feet versus 150 feet or something? What are we talking, like 7 feet is the distance, is what I read? Okay.
When measured at the building setback line, it does meet the criteria. And typically, as she said before, on an excessive radius, a cul-de-sac, you're allowed to measure at the building setback line. So from a staff perspective, it's a minimal exception to accommodate the other things we've asked them to do, leaving the low-lying areas open for gravity sewers, a number of other things, accommodations throughout the development because of its location and proximity to Baser, trying to incorporate their comments as much as possible.
Yep, I got you. Okay.
as I was reading through the packet,
Those three crossings down the east, crossings of the natural stream area, you were talking about culverts, and would that be sufficient for the road going down the east side?
I don't think a culvert's going to accommodate a road there. Logically, it's going to be a box culvert. It's not going to be pipe. It logically would be a box culvert,
Box culverts.
giving the drainage that's happening to the east side.
Okay.
So for this type of improvement, yeah, a culvert is likely sufficient. But when something develops to the east, the improvements are going to be substantially larger
Okay. Thank you.
because the coefficient is going to change as far as
Right.
surface area. So.
All right, I got it. But I was just concerned that as you show it there with either box or a round culvert, that is sufficient for the passage of the water.
It will have to pass engineering, and their drainage study believes that, yes, a culvert is sufficient for this development.
And the developer is aware of that.
Yes.
I saw in there that that's one of our conditions, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, the developer's going to have he's going to have a fun time engineering and controlling water. Because your topographic map
Well,
that you
right
just
now-
showed us was like lakes.
And right now, we're talking all of these properties, as of right now, will be on septic.
They will all be on engineered systems,
Right.
but they will be septic, yes.
And he's setting it up, preparing for connection to the city, so the city connect at any time. That's
Yes.
that's what you said.
Yes, when they get the improvements out here, they have the ability to connect. Yes, there are open
As
spots.
the city starts moving that way.
Right. So
Or the city's
But there
sewage
are-
starts moving that way, because the city's only, 600 feet?
it's right on the city limits. But typically, when you're building sanitary sewers, and you know this from Lansing, the biggest cost isn't necessarily in the improvement; it's the allocation of land in a developed condition. Because then you have to buy properties, and you have to move structure, and you have to grade within all those areas. So logically, if you leave open spots in the lowest geographic area for gravity sewers, you can accommodate those things at much less cost. So it makes it more palatable for cities to annex in the future
Yeah.
when their utilities become available.
Right. Yep. Okay.
If it's fully developed at that point in time, logistically for the homeowners, how big of a pain in the rear is that?
For the homeowner, it's going to be a connection. Likely, cities notify homeowners when interceptors are typically within 300 feet of their property and say you must connect when your septic tank fails. So that's not unreasonable or uncommon. Now, the biggest cost, though, is running those interceptors to pick up all of that local line. The collection system is the interceptors themselves.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, well, we jumped all around. That's good. We had some good discussion here, but let me try to get back on track here. Does the applicant wish to speak? Come on up, sir. Especially if you're the architect design behind all of this. You've done a lot of work on the architect design on this plotting. Please state your name and your location.
Brett Napier, Napier Engineering, 4624 West 62nd, Fairway, Kansas. I have to just reiterate what John said. We're planning on some large structures to handle the water through there. And as far as the connection to the east, we thought about that, and then looking at the ponds to the east, said, well, let's just make a green space and allow that to future development, because that'll be our fourth phase on that side there. So we'll see what happens. Move on with that. Other than that, we're just trying to keep the green space and the streamways and allow future development for the sewer. So that's all I've got. We try to adhere to all the connections and the reason why that main trunk did not go through, like I said before, is we're trying to keep floodplain free. So if you have any questions?
Questions, team? Questions for the applicant? Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Is there additional information to be presented? questions, comments, additional questions and comments from the commission? So if you guys remember, I believe Mr. Riley came and did the presentation about a year ago. You all remember that? This was the plot where he basically let us know that, hey, look, I'm doing the best I can, and I'm working with the city of Basehor, if I remember right, and said, I know it's not 2.5 acres or 5 acres, it's 1 acre, but the 1 acre and what I'm trying to do and bring into the city of Basehor there would look nicer with these bigger, nicer homes than I think his comment was 3 acres on a 1 acre lot, which he could do that too, So now a year later, we get to see the plot of what came out of that, because we voted unanimously, I believe, in approving the 1 acre lot bill design for this. So I believe that's what we're looking at. Is that right?
It wasn't unanimous.
It wasn't unanimous? Okay.
You're considering the preliminary plat. And that was designed in compliance with the R143 zoning district.
Do we have a recommendation from the staff?
Staff recommends approval.
Thank you.
As long as you guys approve those exceptions, yes.
So there's 2 exceptions. Okay. Well, in that case, then I will be entertaining a motion for 2 separate exceptions. Okay. All right. Questions or comments, members of the commission? Did we ask everything, answer anything? Is there still something out there pending that we have? Okay.
Is there any kind of a time frame yet on possible construction?
No, I believe they will start with phase 1, which is that yellow phase up there. But I do not know when they intend to start actual construction.
I think Mr. Riley said during the rezoning phase he anticipated 18 months. And Mr. Napier could probably give you a closer timeline. Brett, if you...
We will start that first phase, design this winter, start in the spring construction.
And the first phase is which color? Yellow?
Yellow.
Okay. Yellow. Yeller. I like yellow. Okay. All right. That's a lot of homes. Looks like about 80 lots.
Well,
Okay. Okay, well, in that case, there's 2 exceptions, team. I'll entertain a motion to approve the first exception, which I'll go back to, and that first exception is an exception from Article 50, Section 40.1.a, which is the street connection to the east, right?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Planning Commission hereby approve an exception from Article 50, Section 40.1.a, street connection in conformance with the zoning and subdivision regulations for the Tallgrass Estates subdivision as submitted by the application based on a finding that all 3 criteria for an exception has been met.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Thanks, Doug. That was a lot.
Good job.
I brought my Cliff's Notes.
All right. So I have a motion and a second on the floor for the street connection. Is there discussion of the motion?
This is now for not having the road
Right.
to the east.
Street connection, also we talk about block length. That's the same section of the regulations.
Okay.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. That's a good question. Thanks, Stephen. Any other discussion on the motion? All right, I'll call roll. Jaden Bailey?
Yes.
Alan Stewart?
Yes.
William Guschock?
Yes.
Jeff Spink?
Yes.
Doug Tysted?
Yes.
Robert Owens?
no.
And purpose, reason?
I think that the land to the east is going to be bought up and developed in basically the same area of what we're looking at now. And we're going to have another development over there with no access into it or out of it. I don't believe we're going to keep the way that's plotted right now. I think that is going to change in the near future.
Okay, so I'm going to say near future plot.
So do you think the two lots to the east are going to be developed?
No, he's talking about this land here.
Everything else.
Okay.
And so
That's just
what
right
what
above
would
the
be
school.
the remedy then for your no vote?
Well, we're going to have to figure out a place where they can either tie a road into the east at a later time and point when that is developed, because that's not going to stay farmland. That's going to be developed. I mean,
But those two green
But that
spaces-
developer would tie into that road. It still wouldn't affect this.
We'd be talking tying in here and potential from there.
either here or, I mean, who's to say those aren't going to be bought up and developed? I mean,
I agree.
that's a big chunk of land right there to be developed, to sit there for two lots.
I'm going to say aesthetics. All right, I got it. All right, thank you. Steve Skeet,
Yes.
Dan Clemens,
Yes.
and Steve Rosenthal.
I'm going to vote no, too. I think it's a wonderful subdivision, but connectivity is very, very important,
So too.
and something we should always require, especially on a subdivision of this magnitude.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right. The motion is carried. The noes are heard and justified. The motion is carried by a vote of 7-2 in favor of the street exception. Now we're going to entertain the motion of the second, I want to say, street exception, because we're talking about the frontage on that one lot, the street exception, right? Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the exception from Article 50, Section 40.3.a, lot compliant with the zoning width standards.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Planning Commission hereby approves an exception from Article 50, Section 40.3.a, lot compliant with zoning district standards in conformance with the zoning and subdivision regulations for the Tallgrass Estates subdivision as submitted by the application based on a finding that all three criteria for an exception has been met.
Thank you. We've got a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Understand I have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the exception, as Commissioner Tysted referred. Is there any discussion on this motion? This was the easier one. This was the curve in the road prevented the lot by 7 feet. Okay. Any discussion? Questions? Okay. I'll call the roll. Jaden Bailey.
Yes.
Alan Stewart.
Yes.
William Guschock.
Yes.
Jeff Spink.
Yes.
Doug Tysted.
Yes.
Robert Owens.
Yes.
Steve Skeet.
Yes.
Dan Clemens.
Yes.
And Steve Rosenthal.
Yes.
All right. 7 of 9 of 9. Call. The motion is carried by a vote of 9-0. Now it's the plat. I was looking at two exceptions, but now I've got a motion to approve the plat as it is shown. Okay? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the plat as stated in your notes tonight. For DEV 24-048 preliminary plat. And I don't have any other notes on that one, on the plat, other than what we've been discussing here tonight.
It's just a preliminary plat, correct?
Yep, it's preliminary plat. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve DEV-24-048 preliminary plat for Tallgrass Estates as presented by staff.
All right, I have a motion on the floor for a preliminary plat to approve as it is presented in our notes.
Second.
I have a second.
One moment, please. I'm just clarifying. As presented by staff, we are including the proposed conditions in the motion. Correct?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Your motion is including the proposed conditions. With
You're
the plat.
making
Your motion is including the proposed conditions.
yes.
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 A second as well.
So these are the 5 proposed conditions that we're looking at in our notes here.
7.
I'm sorry, 7 conditions. That's what we're approving. Those are the conditions to the preliminary plat that we're approving. Okay. Well, there's exceptions on the floor right now. So. Okay. All right, so I have a motion with the proposed conditions to approve the preliminary plat. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Excuse me. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call the roll. Jaden Bailey?
Yes.
Alan Stewart?
Yes.
William Gusshot?
Yes.
Jeff Spink?
Yes.
Doug Tysted?
Yes.
Robert Owens?
No. Same
From-
reason.
from the earlier?
From
Okay.
the earlier comments, yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Got it. Lack of connection. Okay. All right. Steve Skeet?
Yes.
Daniel Clemens?
Yes.
And Steve Rosenthal?
No, because of the no access to the east. Otherwise, I think it's a wonderful subdivision. I think it's a very good plan, and there's plenty of green space. Of course, it's natural green space because of the waterways and everything. But connectivity is something I've stressed very much in the past, and I'm going to continue doing that.
Okay.
It's very important.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, Steve. The motion is carried by a vote of 7-2, approving the preliminary plat. Okay. That completes 9 Alpha. I told y'all we'd get out of here by 8:30, almost 9. We're doing all right. I got some laughs out of here. Okay, come on, people. Let's smile. We're still moving pretty quick here. We're doing important things here. Okay, this is the last item for the night. This is item 9 Bravo. The Leavenworth County Planning Commission will now hear and consider case DEV 24-116, a rezoning request from RR5 to RR2.5 as outlined in your posted agenda. This requires a public hearing. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Once the clock goes off up here on the front with the staff, I ask that the individual please step away from the mic and the podium because the 3 minutes is over. Please don't make me be a bad guy. Planning staff report.
KCB 24116 is a request to rezone the property at 18415 Eisenhower Road from RR5 to RR2.5. This parcel is approximately 146 acres in size. It is adjacent to Eisenhower Road and I believe 187 Street. Thank you. The future land use map has this area identified as 2.5 acres minimum, so the request is in compliance with the future land use map and the comprehensive plan. Staff did look at the 7 factors that you must consider when reviewing a rezoning request. The surrounding parcels range in size from 1.4 acres to more than 150 acres. City limits, the nearest city is the city of Lansing, which is 2 miles east. And then this parcel is located within the rural growth area. Zoning and uses of nearby property. Most of the adjoining parcels are residential and agricultural in nature. However, there is a church that is to the west of this parcel that is a church use. Adjacent zoning, all adjacent parcels are zoned RR5 except for a small area which is designated as B3 to the west. It's kind of the corner, the intersection of Tonganoxie and 187. This parcel is suitable for rural residences and agricultural uses, and staff does not believe that this will negatively impact the surrounding neighborhood. Rural residential is the current zoning. They're proposing rural residential for this. It's just the density that would, the length of the time the property has been vacant. It is not vacant. Currently there is a house, and I believe there's a secondary house that is under construction at this time. And then relative gain to the economic and development of public health, safety, and welfare. There is some potential economic development. It allows for more houses to go into the county. As far as the public health, safety, and welfare, as I mentioned, this is rural residential going to rural residential. It's just the density that is different. And then conformance to the future land use or future comprehensive plan. We've already indicated that. I would like to point out that Eisenhower Road is an arterial road as well as 187th Street. Eisenhower does have some limitations for line of sight along this section of the roadway. So if this parcel is approved for rezoning and they proceed to any type of development, that is one of the considerations that will be taken place during the planning process. And it's likely that there will be some sort of traffic study or traffic impact review that would need to take place to ensure that any access points coming from that subdivision would not create any unsafe intersections for it to move forward. With that, if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. The applicant is in attendance.
Yeah, you can't change that. No.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Amy. Upon opening this public comment portion of the hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item upon recognition, give your name and address each time you begin to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded. Public comment portion of this hearing is now open. Will the applicant please come forward?
Joe Herring, Survey, 315 North Fifth Street. Staff covered this very well. It meets the comp plan. It's hard surface road, like they said. There's collectors or arterials. So taking, a bunch of lots off the road frontage and stripping it is not feasible in this location. You will need interior roads when and if they develop in the future. They did provide a very basic concept plan of what could happen. That is not what they are designing on happening immediately. It is just that they were aware that the planning commission has asked for concept plans when we do such a large acre rezoning, and they did provide what they thought could be developed in the future. But again, that is not what they are anticipating or planning on doing. So, here to answer any questions.
In that west corner right there, Joe, that's that church, isn't it? Isn't that what I'm looking at? That's where this is.
Space is the church.
That's what I thought.
That is correct.
Okay, so this is up there close to that intersection. All right, and then all that land out there. Okay. Okay. Questions of the applicant? Commission?
It was only a matter of time.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. We'll now hear from those individuals present wishing to speak in favor of the request. Those wishing to speak in favor of the request. Okay. We'll now hear from those individuals present wishing to speak in opposition of the request.
I am Ray Anderson. Me and my wife live on 26237 187th Street. We live across the street. I'm speaking on behalf of 8 of the 9 homeowners along 187th Street and also to the west, directly south of this complex that they're talking about. Dale Smith owns all the property that butts up against it. He's been in the hospital. He couldn't make it today. He's wanted me to talk on his behalf. He's definitely opposed to this. All the people, except we weren't able to contact one individual on 187. We're all opposed to it. Mainly for the main reason we're inundated with traffic, unbelievable amount of traffic along 187th Street. And Eisenhower's getting really pretty bad trying to get in town, or vice versa. We're not, most of us come out there to farm or get away from the suburbs. Now you're bringing suburbs out. We feel like there's plenty of ground between Kong and Oxy Road and the city to put in these big developments. So that's the way the people feel out there. So it's up to you guys. But I think Darryl, did you have anything you wanted to ask?
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Carol Anderson again, 26237 187th Street. My concern is with respect to traffic and what it would take to build up the infrastructure to support this many new homes in that area. I'm talking roads. We need, obviously, I think, additional sheriff. We would need additional support from the fire department. It's all of the infrastructure that would go and be required in order to support a subdivision of this size in the area that they're suggesting. Not just the roads. I assume that we're going to have to expand roads. I also assume that these would be on some type of a septic system, but there would be some point in which we would want to have sewage. That's the problem that I'm struggling with, because who's going to pay for all that? And that would be the homeowners that are there today. I would assume that you would have additional revenue into the county that would be generated to support some of that in the future. But you're going to have to get ahead of it, and we're going to have to. That's a lot of money, and we've already been taxed and reassessed out on our property since we moved there 4 years ago. So it's compounded. I don't want to see it continue to compound.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Cecilia Joanne Aaron, 26311 179th Street. My property joins it on the east and the southeast corner. And my property's up against Dale Smith's that he mentioned. I have cattle. That's my income. The farm has been in the family since 1882, continuously. And they came out, and some people came out and don't knew homes directly north of me, and north of John's place. also, the drainage runoff the ground comes down into my place, into the creek that runs through my place, and my cattle are. And what about this fencing? The rules of fencing. That's going to affect, because they're not going to get, they'll say, well, they don't have cattle, so they don't have the responsibility of the fence. I think the rules are based on fencing. Who owns the property, so many feet one way and so many feet the other. That's who's responsible. And I just don't see. I don't know. I have 147 acres next to it. Plus, I have across the road from that another 200 acres. People are letting me to sell it. It has been in the family since 1882. And I have grandchildren that I want to continue.
Good for them.
Houses, built, whole bunch of houses, rocking my son.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I appreciate you coming here tonight. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Janice Aaron. I'm 26311 Minnesota Street. I'm on record. I'm opposed to this for a lot of the same reasons that have already been mentioned. I'm concerned about the water runoff into my pasture. I'm concerned to my livestock. We don't currently have a decent fire department. Our fire department is arguing with each other in this county. We don't have infrastructure for all these houses. I don't know why we need all these houses. It's not even close to the city limits, in my opinion. I mean, granted, she said 2 miles, but we just don't have the infrastructure.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for coming. Come on up.
So my question is there a study or something that would suggest that if this was developed in this manner, at 2.5 acres per, that I don't know how many houses that is in total.
There's a lot more meetings and plans that would occur, yes, ma'am, long before. This is purely what you're looking at, a rough sketch.
Got it. I know that's what it could have. I mean, let's just call that worst case, right?
Okay.
That being said, is there something that would suggest that if that were built in that manner, that they would be able to even sell those houses? I mean,
They will sell like hotcakes, ma'am. Guaranteed. Because everybody that's going to buy one of those is the exact same person that moved into Basehor 20 years ago because they wanted the rural atmosphere.
I'm just curious.
So there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, what we're doing tonight is purely looking at what we're talking about tonight. If I'm not mistaken, is purely allocating the owner's land by zoning it to what the future land use map has already zoned it. So the next thing would, John, the next thing would be, I'm sorry, Amy, the next thing would be,
They would want to move forward with subdividing the parcel, they would have to go through the planning process.
there we go, the planning process.
Due to the size of the parcel and the number of lots that they're proposing here, I can't say that that will be the end result. They would have to go through a preliminary plat, so the planning commission would look at that, and then they'd have to come back again at a separate meeting and go through the final. During that planning process, we look at everything. We look at storm drainage runoff, we look at the road connections, as you mentioned earlier. We make sure that everything that they're developing in there is just compliant with the county standards and regulations as they currently are.
As far as the sellability of lots, that's not really something that we look at. It is up to the property owner to take that risk if they so choose.
I understand that piece. I'm just more concerned with that many houses and then having subdivision houses.
Now, just to let you know what I'm saying, to not walk away tonight and not be able to sleep because this is going to weigh on you. I know, right? There's nothing that we have in front of us that says that the applicant is wanting to do this in the next year, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. That's not, this could be something that the applicant may be looking at in the next 15, 20 years. We don't know. The only thing we're doing tonight is to hear the applicant for the exception to actually grant their property what the future land use map is, which is from 5 to 2.5. That's it. Now, what we have in front of us is what the commission has asked, which is, hey, when we start seeing these, can we at least start getting the rough draft map of what these people are talking about before everything else is done that Miss Amy has explained, and then it comes into us to approve the plat, but we were never even shown what the previous would even look like for a draft. So, okay.
Can I ask a question before we go?
Yeah.
Strictly zoning tonight. And I hear the concerns, the stuff for the fire, the infrastructure, the roads, and all that will come during the preliminary planning process, which is down the road.
Right.
Down the road, correct, yes. So we will get that application, we route it out to all of the entities that review developments, the utility companies, the fire district, the other departments in the county that will look at development, and we will get another round of comments from them. And, if there's things that they need to comply with, to meet our regulations, our policies, anything like that, we can request it at that time, and they will have to comply with it. If they don't, they have to come before you and request exceptions, and that is at your discretion, obviously. Or they might even have to get a variance, depending on what they're requesting. But there is a process to make sure that everything that they would develop here is compliant with the county's standards and regulations.
We're not approving this concept, they're just spitwadding to say, here's what would fit in that area.
Correct. We can, as part of a rezoning, we cannot tie the rezoning to that. That is legally something that we cannot do. This is purely just a concept drawing of an idea that the applicant might pursue. They might pursue something else as long as it's in compliance with the zoning district.
I just want to get it straight in my mind exactly what we're looking at, and make sure they're clear what we're considering.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's all my questions.
No, you're good. We're still discussing. Okay, so
got
we are
somebody-
still
got somebody
got it. So we're still in the. We'll hear from the individuals present wishing to speak in opposition. Okay, please, sir, state your name and your address.
Michael Target, I live at 19250 Strange Road. I'm about a couple miles from this complex. I practice land backs up to my land. The issue I have with it is basically, again, the infrastructure that we don't have, the amount of traffic that we do have, the amount of traffic that we do have. Is that better? Okay.
We still heard you good.
We still heard you. Yeah, you were good.
You got a good voice. Keep going.
I mean, it's basically just the congestion in general. Stranger Road is where I live, but it's like a freeway now. You put 51 more houses in there with everybody driving, it's just going to make it even more of a freeway and more of a danger zone. We already have major construction going on right now on Eisenhower. We have it on 187th, and we have it on Jarblow Road. We have to drive 10 miles out of our way just to come to town right now because everybody decided to blow up the roads all at once.
Do the bridges all at once?
Yeah, every one of them. So you can't, you can't go down Eisenhower to go to town. You got to go all the way to 92. You can't go to Tongi unless you go all the way down to 217th Street in Jarblow if you want to stay off the gravel, which some of us do. But that's my main thing. And another thing that you may want to take into consideration. The owner of this property is I'm going to throw the elephant in the room. She's on the county commission. To me, that gives a conflict of interest, if you ask me. Because the county commission can approve it based on her being a member.
Now remember,
she will abstain on that,
Yeah,
so
right.
she
She can abstain.
She won't take a vote, but that's beside the point. I understand your
Yeah, I mean, my concern is whether she abstains or not. It's kind of like,
but
it's
remember-
kind of like you saying no to something that somebody else is doing but the rest of them are going to vote yes.
I understand.
You know what I'm saying?
But remember what we're doing here tonight.
I understand what you're doing
The
here
only
tonight.
thing
Trust
we're
me.
doing tonight.
Trust me. I know. I
Now,
understand.
between tonight and the next
3 or 4
points of
meetings,
this,
yes.
This is where you all will come.
I mean,
in
that
large
land is
numbers
agriculture.
and-
It's been an agricultural farm.
I got you. I got you.
I've been here 22 years now. It's been an agricultural farm ever since I've been here.
Yeah.
My wife grew up on the property all her life, her family. There was a dairy farm, and that's always been agricultural. And all the areas around it are agricultural, the ones that are butt up to it. More or less just the infrastructure and the major traffic that we're going to have. Because, I mean, he lives off Eisenhower. He knows the traffic is on Eisenhower. We all do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ruth Binion, 19060 Stranger Road. I've been out there 35 years. I bought a home out in the county, and that's the way I appreciate it to be. Agree with everyone about the traffic, the road construction going on for the next 3 months. We don't appreciate it all happening at the same time, trying to leave our homes to go somewhere. Fire department would have a problem right now themselves. To me, a structure that we're talking about, I would appreciate it in the city limits and leaving the county alone. If somebody wants to sell their property that has hundreds of acres and they want to sell it to family and they want to subdivide it, that's fine. But this type of structure should be in the city limits. Because now I fear with this, you're going to move the city limits our way. And we would appreciate to leave the county the way it is. We're taxed enough, road construction improvements, we're paying our bills. But if you're going to build something like this, and it's even a projection, I know there's enough land in the city limits that some of this, if not this size, can be built. We'd appreciate leaving the county. We have enough traffic. We have enough. We do not need this in our county.
Thank you, ma'am.
Gary Anderson again. Just some clarification. There's this future map, saw this online, and was this ever approved by this board or the commissioners? Was there ever public?
18 months of public hearings, sir.
Oh, okay.
18 months.
Well,
Very little participation.
how long has this been in fact?
Now, that was approved, which doesn't reflect the one that was approved by this board. There are parts of that was a unilateral decision by the county commissioners.
Okay. Now, when was this approved?
Been on what, a year?
When did you say, 2020?
Yeah. Okay. All
I
right.
don't know which one you have, because the one in 2020 wasn't the one that's approved last, was it? That was the one, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we just did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment too much on it because I
That's
commented
fine.
one time
That's
before
fine.
when the
I
mics
just-
were hot, and I tended to upset a few people. So
Well-
I'm just going to tell you, as a landowner, there was a lot of public announcement. There was a lot of newspaper. There was a lot of Facebook. There was a lot of open meetings. There was a lot of set up booths at the county fairs. I was corrected and scolded pretty good that there was a lot of advertisement. The only thing that was missing was driving up and down the roads with microphones on, the old ways to get people to vote, to get people to participate and come and talk to the county commissioners. And after all of that, for like 18 to 20 months, the room would have less than we have here tonight, was all that would ever come.
Okay.
Now,
I just moved here.
Now, what I would say, because I'm not scared of upsetting people, is that that's all true. But then you can't, out of the other side of your mouth, act like it's representative of the people you represent. When you cite statistics about most people wanting to keep the county rural, but then you have low participation, you can't parade that around like, oh, look what we did. We we have a consensus, because that's not reflective of reality.
Right.
So I know there's a lot of hypothesizing about what might happen, and that's not really what we're here to do tonight.
Right.
What does apply tonight are those golden factors. And those golden factors, number one, is character of the neighborhood. Well, I'd make the argument that zoning directly reflects and affects the character of the neighborhood. People that is cited in the comprehensive plan wanting to maintain a rural atmosphere, there's been a conversation about whether or not 2.5 acres that's called rural residential. I would bet you that most of the county would disagree that that's rural. Now, that's a matter of opinion, but it is a part of that golden factor. We've had people cite estate planning as one of the reasons that they want to rezone, and we all look at that as like, okay, that's reasonable. However, when we get a concept plan, which we don't have to hold them to, but it kind of does let us know that they want to develop rather than estate plan. So if we're going to take in estate planning as an acceptable thing to ponder, then I think this should be as well when we're thinking about, again, the character of the neighborhood. That's all I'll say about that.
That's all I got to say about that.
Well,
all right. Yes, sir.
We moved here the day after the pandemic started in 2020, so this probably got approved before or during COVID. That might be part of the reason you get a lot of people here. But I find it kind of strange. From what I understand, the county was, most of this area out in our area was all 10-acre, zone 10 acres.
R5.
Then it went to R5.
It was actually, as I understand, there wasn't really a set. You could have anywhere from 1.5 acres to an acre to not even an acre to 50 acres to 147 acres.
Well,
it was everywhere. So they did the study to try to develop the.
Where we bought our house in the Oftenburg Estates, and that was zone 10 acres. She was required, and they finally got a variance on that, and she got it down to 7.5 acres. But I think she was required to have 5.
Okay.
But I find it, we're working down to where it's almost all yellow, and I think that's kind of a problem. Now, we would have had a lot more people come, but a lot of them were in the hospital, a lot of games and sports, and people couldn't make it. So there's a lot of people out here who wanted to talk, but they couldn't make it. So
I understand.
Just want to let you know.
Oh, I got it. I understand. Okay, so we've covered a little bit of everything in this one discussion, from future land use map to land terrain and what this future is going to look like. Okay, so let me reiterate what we're here tonight to do. The Leavenworth County Planning and Zoning Commission is considering a case, DEV 24-116, a rezoning request from RR5 to RR 2.5 as posted in your agenda. I've heard from zero, and I've heard from in favor. I've heard from in opposition. Is there any additional information to be presented?
Did everybody have a chance to talk? Everybody had 3 minutes to talk one time.
Okay. The public comment portion of this public hearing is now closed. Kansas law allows for a petition protesting the decision of the Planning Commission to be filed. That petition must be filed within 14 calendar days after the date of the public hearing. Additional information on the filing of a protest petition can be obtained from the Office of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Any questions, comments from the members of the Commission? Discussion from the members of the Commission? We get a lot of it all during, so that's good. Yeah.
We've seen this over and over. Large plots that we're splitting into 2.5 acres, and we've done it several times, and there's still a lot of them that aren't developed yet. It was just a future idea. Down the road, they're going to do something with it, and so, we got to take that into consideration. This will probably be developed, but there's a lot of issues on this development with the road frontage, entrances in and out. I mean, I travel down that road myself. It's a natural disaster there. That three-way intersection at the top of the hill, that's just a bad intersection. So, I mean, there's a lot to consider there on down the road. I mean, that's not what we're at tonight.
Right.
But
Getting in and out of that church parking lot is.
the church, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, you're right. I just think zoning determines character, and character of the neighborhood is something we're considering. So.
Yep. Okay. All right. Thanks, Commissioner Owens. All right. Well, at this time, I'll entertain a motion on this request.
Before any motion is made or votes, no matter what motion is made and when you vote on it, if you are voting, depending on, like if you're going to vote no, please articulate for the record the reasons why. I think I've seen some great motions tonight where you're articulating your reasons, and that's very helpful in the event we end up litigating a matter.
So keep doing what we're doing.
Keep doing
Not
what
only
you're
say
doing.
no, but tell the reason why we're saying no.
Yeah, it's helpful when.
Thank you, ma'am.
You know, don't just say character of the neighborhood, expand on it a little bit so everyone understands why.
Thank you. I knew we'd get something out of you tonight. Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
what is the zoning of the property surrounding this one? Because that's one of the golden factors. What's the zoning around it?
2.5.
It's all RR5? Thank you.
It to the north and to the south is all RR5.
Current zoning designation for north, south, east, and west, with the exception of the B3 corner to the west, is RR5. Now, if you're asking the future land use map, all of that area is designated for RR2.5.
Yeah, that's the difference. That's what I made a mistake asking earlier. So this is all RR5, but the future land use map is RR 2.5.
For all adjacent parcels.
North, south, east, and west. Thank you.
So as long as it meets the future, it meets golden factor 2?
That would be consideration of the golden factor number 7, conformance to the comprehensive plan.
Oh, okay.
And that was approved in 2020.
Okay. Okay, where we are right now is I'm entertaining a motion on this request, either for or against. Either way, I'm looking for a motion.
What was the staff recommendation?
Based on and the future land use map? Thank you, ma'am.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that in consideration of the future plan use, the existing area in this neighborhood, and just what we've been facing for the last several years, everybody wants to maximize the value of their property, and that's what we're doing here. Doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but likely that will happen sometime in the future. But I make a motion that we approve case number DEV-24-116 as presented and discussed, and in consideration of the golden factors.
All right, sir.
I second.
I have a motion, and I have a second. Thank you, Commissioner Tysted. I have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the rezoning request. Is there discussion of the motion? I think most of the discussions have been taking place all prior to, so I'll entertain it during the vote. All right, I have a motion and a second. I'll call roll. Jaden Bailey.
No. I say character of the neighborhood. 2 miles from the city, there's not any like developments, even though it's concept plan. Close to it, not to say it wouldn't happen in the future, but I don't think that applies now. As well as number 2 factor, which is zoning and uses of nearby property, are not reflected in that either.
Golden factor number 2?
And 1.
And 1?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Alan Stork?
Yes.
William Guschala?
No, for same reasons as Mr. Bailey has stated. I think the character of the neighborhood and the zoning and use of nearby property needs to be considered differently.
Okay. All right. Jeff Spink?
Yes.
Doug Tysted?
No. The factors stated by Commissioners Gottschalk and Bailey, plus as I look at and I know this is rezoning only, but as I look at the concept plan, it's not workable due to the existing structures, and so it appears to me that they just got to do a lot more work in a 5 acre versus 2.5. Even if they split it into 5 acre plots, it still becomes valuable, but it goes more in nature, in the nature of the neighborhood.
Okay. I believe I have a problem. I have a motion, but the person that had the second was an approval of the exception. And now that person has voted no after he motioned as a second. Now what? Never had this problem before.
Doesn't matter.
I can still go, right?
You
I
can proceed.
all right.
The roll call is
Thank you. See, I'm giving you something tonight. Yeah. That's why you're here with us tonight.
All I was doing,
No, you're good.
was trying to move forward. Trying to get us to a vote.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good, Doug. I'm good there, Commissioner Tysted. All right. Robert Owens.
And as I'm looking at this, before I say my answer, it looks like there's already some 2.5 acre lots, maybe 3 acres on the north edge of this. So it's a tough call, in my personal opinion. But I'm going to stand with the no vote on this, I think, and for the reason it doesn't match what we have here. I know the people that live back to the east. They're not going to sell out. And I know there's a lot of issues with the development and the final deal, but it doesn't match what we have right here in that area of our community. So my vote is no.
For golden factors 1 and 2,
1 and 2,
same
yes, sir.
as I heard earlier. Okay. Steve Skeet.
I'm going to vote no for golden factors 1 and 2 as well.
All right. Dan Clemens.
I'm going to have to vote no as well. It's not adjacent to the city. I don't think that has any bearing on it for golden factors 1 and 2.
All right. Mr. Rosenthal. Stephen.
I'm going to vote yes.
Yes. All right. All right. 9 votes. The motion is denied by a vote of 6-3 for the reasons of golden factor number 1, golden factor number 2, and I believe Commissioner Jaden Bailey kind of laid out those golden factors in long discussion that many here tonight echoed as the reasons why they voted no. The Board of County Commissioners will consider this item no earlier than October the 30th, 2024. In that meeting, the commission agenda is posted on the Leavenworth County website and is available for public viewing. Do I have a motion of adjournment?
Before you adjourn,
Yes, ma'am.
we had contacted everybody about the October 30th emergency meeting for the Board of Zoning Appeals. And I know we have one person that can't be in attendance, so we just wanted to verify we would have a quorum. So is everybody here able to attend? 5:30. Okay, so 1, 2. But is everybody else?
I'll be here.
Or is
I'm
it
not
only-
sure yet.
You only need 7,
We
right?
only need 7. So yeah, I think we'll be good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are we going to be all right?
And we'll be good.
Yeah, I've got to make that Halloween. My grandson would be pretty upset if I don't make that one. In Augusta with hurricanes. Okay. All right. Thank you, Amy. I guess I need to start asking my staff first. You know, hey. Okay. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?